but the Chinese government is very effective in stopping money going away from the country. Yeah.
Welcome to my show. We are here in Bodrum, Turkey at the Property and Freedom Society. It's hosted by Hans-Hermann Hoppe, and I got Peter Wong right next to me. Hi, Peter.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Peter is an Austrian economics guy from Hong Kong. Yep. He's the head economist of a hedge fund.
Yep.
And he just gave a talk about China, about the return of the Middle Kingdom. So, and today, on the last days, we saw a crackdown in the price of Bitcoin. So, and it was related to the regulation of Bitcoin in China. So, maybe you can draw the big picture, what's going on in China. And I think, China is always like, everybody's talking about China, but I think the culture is so different, and many people don't know much about China.
No, so. I think you can say China is very different from the West, but they also share a lot of similarities. The Chinese government is no exception, control freak. So when you have Bitcoin, which is considered by many uncontrollable by the state, I think the crackdown would not surprise me. And if you think about China, in China we have two very large internet giant company, Alibaba and Tencent, and they have their own payment system. So I always scratch my head why with the two payment system controllable by the state, and you have another system which is Bitcoin, quite uncontrollable, and why would China let it happen for such a long time? I have been scratching my head. Of course, you can say it's very difficult, or some people consider impossible for the state to ban the Bitcoin. But I think making it harder to use can always be a way, and cracking down on the exchanges seems to be reasonable to me.
Okay. You told me before there's like an underground banking system where they transfer money to other countries. Yeah, can you tell me more about us?
Well, the mechanism is kind of complicated, but I try to make it easy. Basically, there is still capital control in China, and there is capital flight still going on, but now it is kind of in a controllable manner. But there are always unofficial channel for people to bring their money in and out of China. So the official way, of course, is you go through the central bank or an institution called SAFE, that you sell your RMB to the central bank, and then you get your foreign currency outside the country. So this is the official way. The unofficial way is it has to involve some parties. For example, if I have friends who are running, who are Hong Kong person, and they run factories in China, so they would every month they have to remit money into China. So on the other hand, if you are on the other side of the border, if you are Chinese, if you want to move money out, so technically you can talk to the Hong Kong factory owner and say, how about I sell you my RMB within China, and you pay me in Hong Kong dollar in Hong Kong. So that's how they solve, is the unofficial channel, how you bring money out. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but also Bitcoin, if there involves cross-border transaction, it will share the same channel, because I don't think you can go through the official channel. So when you have the normal underground activity going on, and all of a sudden you have a lot of Bitcoin cross-border transaction, that so you are competing with the same resources, and that might create a chaos in the underground system. And don't underestimate that the Chinese government, they're very clever. They know how to make the underground economy for their own use. So if you mess it up, they are not happy. So I think that might be the reason why they crack down on Bitcoin.
So for their own use is like corruption, or what are you talking about?
Yeah, for the own use, of course, I'm talking about, at least from the government officials' perspective. Of course, they have some corruption money, and they need to ship it out outside China. And the underground channel is one. And when they see maybe the Bitcoin, the system is messing up that channel, then of course you can also argue they also use Bitcoin to ship their money out. So it's kind of complicated. There might be a lot of parties involved, but I think for the state, I think they consider there might be redundancy. Like why you have Alipay, you have WeChat Pay, and on the other hand, you also need Bitcoin. Like if it becomes unmanageable, they just shut it down. Yes.
So now, as we see the crackdown on Bitcoin, like the government, they always need the support of the people. So how is the relationship of the Chinese people to the government? Like, do they see that they're suppressed, or like how is the Chinese mindset?
Well, I think firstly, are there many Chinese people trading Bitcoins? I think percentage-wise,
they're very tax-heavy, I think.
Yeah, but percentage-wise, I think is quite insignificant, and also the Chinese, they have the character of, okay, if the government shut down this channel, then I just walk away and find another way to do things. And if you speculate and you get burned, and would you revolt because of that? I wonder. I think the Chinese. Well, it depends. Like if they believe the government crackdown will be limited, of course the price would rise again. But I doubt. I think if the government is serious, they become serious cracking it down. Well, you could argue whether there are ways to shut down Bitcoin, but I think keep attacking the exchange would be, they would continue to do that. Yeah.
So, how is in general the mindset of the Chinese people to the government? Like, do you think people get more critical about the government intervention, or do they still have a big support? Like you told before, like there's like Mao is still famous even when he was like a mass murderer.
Well, you have to see the whole thing in a big picture. For most Chinese, they see the improvement on their life every year better and getting better. Okay. Of course, on an absolute level, in general, still quite considerably lower than most developed countries. But I think the point is the improvement rather than the absolute level. Okay. So I think the Chinese are, even, some of them may get burned in this situation, but all in all, the Chinese are by and large happy with the progress they are experiencing. Well, you look at, I remember 30 years ago, when we first went into China, the people, the way they dressed, simply, like the progress is unimaginable. And now if you say just by cracking down Bitcoin and the Communist Party, they have, because of the public anger and the Communist Party, they have to concede, I think is quite unimaginable. But on the other hand, if the Communist Party would see the existence of Bitcoin has some use, irreplaceable use for the party, yes, then there may be a chance they would stop the crackdown. But I think we have to analyze the whole situation in more aspects. Yes.
So how do Chinese people see Mao?
It's complicated. Of course, you know, I know many friends, actually their relatives or their grandparents killed or murdered by Mao. But on the other hand, I don't know whether this is like a Stockholm symptoms or whatever, and they kind of fear Mao. So it's complicated, but most Chinese, I would say, they consider of course he killed many Chinese people, but on the other hand, consider he a national hero because he drove away the foreign powers. Yeah.
Okay, you told something in your talk. You said something about like the people they have like Mao sticker in front of their car for good luck.
Oh yeah. To keep them safe from the journey or something. The badge you have a Mao's face on it would drive away demons. Yeah, they are serious. Yes. Yeah. Well, this is the mentality of the old thinking, which is always the first emperor, the creator of an empire, must have some godlike feature because he might be sent by the heaven or whatever. So it's kind of like superstition element of Chinese people. Yeah.
So where do you see China heading? Like, is the free market getting bigger and bigger, or will they shut down, shut down markets, like go back to full-blown communism?
No, I don't think the Chinese will go back to full-blown socialism. I would rather think they go like the fascism way, which is like perhaps like Germany in the 30s, which means I'm not trying to compare the Chinese leader. I don't think they would do stupid things like Hitler, but Chinese, they always have a mentality, the government, they always have a mentality, your possession, your properties, if I need, you have to give me for temporary use. Not less, sometimes maybe I even have to confiscate, but confiscation is kind of, like the Chinese tactic is, okay, so if the state need the entrepreneurs, like you lend me your resources, and after finishing the job, I will reward you elsewhere. So yeah, that's how the way it works. So I would say, yes, sometimes the government would demand entrepreneurs to sacrifice their good, the personal goods for the greater good of the state. And I don't like it. But in peacetime, like when the state doesn't need your resources, then you are free to do business, like what we see now. Yeah.
Okay, like we see, there's a big asset price inflation. The Chinese central bank is printing a lot of money. Like they buy a lot of gold. I think, they bought a lot of US dollars on the market. So, do you see a crash coming in from China?
I thought in 2016 there might be a big crash. The Chinese yuan may need to be devalued massively, but it didn't happen simply because the capital control by the state is so effective. And that's another indication that Chinese people, they are kind of like easy on the government when it comes to when the Communist Party slam the desk at the table and say, you cannot bring your money out. And really the people listen to it. So I don't like it, but that's how the way it works. Chinese people, they in the capital flight, they kind of lose their freedom moving their money out. But the Chinese government is very effective in stopping money going away from the country. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, interesting times. So thank you very much for the interview, Peter.
Yep.
And see you in the next video.
Yeah.